So, Adrian, are you recording?
Yes.
Okay. Adrian, hello.
Hello.
Good morning. Finally, I'm chatting with someone who's roughly the same time zone as
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
So, where are you in England?
I'm not in England. I'm in Wales.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes. Where are you in the UK? Wales?
I'm in North Wales.
Okay. Are you Welsh?
No.
No. But you chose to move to Wales.
Yeah, I moved here. God, it must be nearly 9 years ago, I suppose. I managed to escape from Salford, which is a very
I have
difficult place in
visited.
Manchester.
Yes, yeah. Not a very nice place.
Well, you learn a lot about life, and you learn some interesting people skills, and you learn how to defend yourself as well. So it's not a bad place for that.
Okay, very real, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you don't have to go and watch the television to watch police camera action. You just need to open your front door and have a walk around.
Is it still like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Adrian, you have an amazing show. It's not just a podcast.
Okay.
For the love of truth,
Aye.
and a very nice website. You're also sharing other people's podcasts there, other people's shows.
Yes.
You have, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, one of the reasons I put the whole thing together was because when all this pandemic nonsense started, I worked out very quickly it was a lie, it was a hoax, and there was something else behind it. And it's all part of the trauma-based or fear-based mind control that people are being subjected to by the deep state, the high finance, which is what I covered in that discussion, or we covered in that discussion with Ludwig recently. And it was really just to give people an alternative view on things so that they could start to work things through for themselves. And they had a resource to have a look at. And that was really why I put that together. And also reference for me so I could keep track of all the information because there's a lot on there now.
Yeah. It's a lot of content in there,
Yeah.
on there. What were you doing before the pandemic?
Just living my life like I have done for a long time. I don't like the system at all. I want nothing to do with it. And I backed away from it probably 2 decades ago, maybe a bit longer. And just you skirt around the outside of it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It never has. You know, I was immersed in it when I was growing up. I made some good money when I was younger. But the whole thing made no sense. And then we had a whole bunch of events and situations, which I won't share on here, but I'll tell you about afterwards if you want, that culminated in me saying, right, this is crap. I don't want to be part of it. It doesn't make any sense. It's a complete lie. So I just went my own way and lived my own life, which I've been doing ever since then.
Are you autonomous?
Well, like a machine.
Yeah, you're a robot.
Yeah, definitely. No, I'd largely. I mean, there are certain things it's easier to have, say, a driving license, even though you're not driving all the time, because driving is a commercial activity. But you can do things with that. You can make it an all rights reserve license, which gives the powers that shouldn't be problems when they decide to interfere with your natural right to move around. And if you know what you're doing, you can have some fun with that. And if you don't know what you're doing, you get into terrible trouble.
I guess you know what to do.
Mostly, yeah. And that comes from not knowing what I'm doing and making mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, do you produce your own food? Do you have your own energy?
Yeah, we produce some food, and I joined a community garden a couple of years ago to learn how to produce food when I realized they were going to start destroying the food systems, which they're a long way on with now. So we do grow that. But I mean, that was one of the points I wanted to talk about, because you're a part of a community and you're an important part of your local community. And we've been forced to become very dependent on a fraudulent system that wants to control everything, a system of commerce that will eventually consume itself, as we're witnessing now. But it'll take a lot with it. So I wanted to learn from other people who had the skills. How do you do this? How do you grow food? And it turns out it's actually not that difficult. And the more you can grow yourself, you're getting local information in the food as well, the local water, the local air. It's much more powerful and relevant to you than eating, say, an apple from South America. But if you eat a locally grown apple or locally grown orange, that kind of thing. So I learned how to do that. Power-wise, we're working on that right now. And I bought some different cars now so I can modify them to run on different things, because that'll be another problem soon. You know, I bought a load of fuel when the pandemic started, thinking they'd interfere with the supplies of fuel. They didn't realize all they do is push the prices so high it gets uncomfortable to drive or move around your vehicle. And that's one of the things I want to talk about as well as linguistics and how we're trapped into all these words. But we can get onto that if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But go on with because I've heard you talking about it before.
Okay.
How exactly are you changing? Are you changing the way the car engine works?
Not really. If you buy
How
an
do we
old
do it?
if you buy an old diesel as an example, one of the older cars before
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
2000, 2002,
Oh,
when they started to make changes, those
okay.
older ones will
Yeah.
run on different fuels. So you can make
Like
your own
like
biodiesel as an
oil.
example. Yeah, old engine oil, old cooking oil, new cooking oil. There's all sorts of things you can do. You have to make some minor modifications, but they'll run fine on it. In fact, they run better on it. So you can do things like that.
And where do you find the information to do that? Because I bet that
Right.
the engineers that exist right now have no idea how to do that.
Well, they might. Well, here's one of the most important things I wanted to talk about, right? It's because the education system, if people don't realize it, is a mind control system. It's a system of indoctrination to get you to become a slave they can drop into a slave box for the rest of your working life. And they're going to try and shorten that with pharmaceuticals as well, and poison food, poison air, and all the rest of it. But you are responsible for empowering yourself. You must take responsibility. I'm not just referring to you, I'm referring to everyone.
Yeah.
You, me, all of us have to take self-responsibility, and we have to become self-reliant. And that is the way we will find our way home, if you will, from where we're at right now. And one of the most powerful ways I found to do that is to ask better questions. Learn to ask questions, formulate questions. Everyone's running around looking around for the answer, and you're never going to get it unless you ask a better question. So start to formulate really powerful, profound questions that will elicit the answers from the realm that we live in, from the people around you, from your own mind, and spend less time looking on the internet for the answers, spend more time looking inside and into other people, because that's where the real knowledge is. What most people are getting from the internet is contrived and controlled in order to further manipulate, mind control, and hypnotize them.
Yes, it's a curated
Yeah.
content.
That's right. Yeah.
The
So,
internet.
so the questions really are what led me to do that. I started to ask, well, how were the engines originally designed? What could they run on? Can they run on this? I started asking questions, and a whole world opened up before me of information and knowledge that had been sat there waiting for me to look at it. But until I asked the question, I didn't even notice it.
Mm.
So it's asking questions, I think, is one of the most powerful things people can do, because then you can start to critically think about things. You can examine things like looking at the pandemic and all this hoax. When you start to ask questions, you go 4 or 5 levels deep with questions on anybody, including yourself, you will get some very revealing answers. And you will find as well that all these shysters that are running local governments and national governments have no answers to give beyond 1 or 2, because they don't know what they're doing anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, questions really. And using mind maps and stuff like that, you start to develop your own thoughts and your own processes, but questions are critical. You get the questions right, and life will reveal its secrets to you.
So I'm asking a question. I hope life will reveal, how do I change my car to operate in a different with different fuel?
What are you driving?
I have to ask my husband for the year, the model, what year. But we did buy an older technology truck. Because we didn't want it to be, electronic. We didn't want to have anything electronic on it. I'll ask the year. It's but it runs on diesel.
Okay. Yeah. Well, if you send me a message, because I don't really want to be talking too much about that, because it'll flag things around me. But I'll send you a message on how to do it.
I can do something better, because my husband is coming to England this Friday.
Okay.
I can send him to you. I'll tie a bow. Adrian, this is Matt.
Where's he coming
Educate
to?
him. He's coming to London because he's trying to sell a house he has in Notting Hill.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
We'll see if the sale goes through. It's problematic.
Yeah.
In any case, he wants to pack them, all the furniture and everything, and ship them to Greece. And then he stays for around 2 weeks. He wants to visit his mother also. She's in West England, in Somerset.
Oh yeah.
In Somerset.
Yeah, I went through there about a month, well, probably 3 weeks back when we went down to Cornwall for a week.
Beautiful place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, that's the idea.
Yeah, I can show him, how I do it, what I'm doing. It's not difficult.
So you don't need to be an engineer to do it. You just need to basically understand.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of helps a little bit if you can fix things and put things together. And there's different ways of doing it. And there's there's videos you can watch, there's stuff you can read. It's not complex. I spent a fair bit of money on the kit because I wanted to do it right, and I wanted to do it at a different scale for myself and my family and friends. But yeah, there's ways of doing it. You can do all sorts. I mean, I've had old diesels in the past that we've run on aviation fuel, kerosene, central heating oil, all sorts of different things that they aren't supposed to run on because you're not paying the tax on them, but they run just fine on them.
And do you think that we will continue having, supply of kerosene and, heating oil and all that stuff?
I don't know. I'm not using that anymore anyway, so I'm using different stuff.
Okay. So you talked about linguistics.
Oh yeah, okay, language. Yeah. One of the interesting things is one of the first things they teach you at school is how to spell, which means you're casting magic spells as soon as you can spell. And then they broadcast, which is another thing that the witches do, is they cast spells. So they broadcast information to you through the television, and they sit you down on the television, which is lying to you anyway. But what are you watching on there? You're watching programs. Well, programs are a set of instructions, isn't it? So you're being programmed. And you're watching channels on the television, and channeling's another thing about talking with the dead. So there's all this stuff in plain sight that a lot of people just haven't noticed yet. And they go, oh, okay, that's interesting when you start to point it out and you start to look at it. So linguistics are really important. And I think one of the powerful things with it is words can change your whole physiology. I remember watching Tony Robbins years ago before I met him. And he was saying there's a big difference in your physical body and your feelings between someone stabbing you in the back or someone giving you a rough time. So you learn how to use linguistics differently. And also there's a lot of importance in using the right word to describe what's actually going on. Like they're busy calling this a vaccine. Well, it's not a vaccine, it's an injection. So you call it by an injection. So it's about, back to the questions again, am I using the right language to figure out what's actually going on here? Because when you start to get the right words and descriptions around things become a lot clearer, I found.
Yeah. You reminded me of a podcast Tom Cowan did a few weeks ago, talking about one of the reasons people get Alzheimer's is that they don't speak the truth.
Yep.
So, the brain forms different, the wrong pathways.
Yes.
Because we think and speak lies. Even when we over exaggerate or we understating something, it's not correct. It's not the correct information. So our brain doesn't work in a proper, I don't know, modality. Let's say.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, one
so
of the
the first thing he said is just stop lying.
Yeah. Well, also look at all the woke community and all the things that you're supposed to not say because it might offend someone. We're being encouraged to lie all the time.
Yeah.
All the multi-gender stuff and everything like that. And if you're curious about your gender, have a look down. And if something's hanging down, you're a fella. And if it doesn't, you're probably a woman. It's not difficult. By the way, I do say it like I see it.
I see something hanging, guy.
Yep, fella. Even if you want to identify as something else, I'm going to refer to you as a fella because I can.
Yeah. Was it in England? That they jailed someone because on Twitter he offended a transgender person?
I wouldn't be surprised. And like in Wales, they're teaching the children all sorts of disgusting nonsense.
It came to the UK, yeah?
Yeah.
The whole...
Yeah, so where we were, we're back to being encouraged to lie because you're not supposed to speak your mind. And you don't have
It's
to do it in an unpleasant way, but you should be able to express yourself and have a discussion and explore topics.
yeah. How do you navigate that? Um, I I guess you need to get over your fear. We have a lot of fear
No,
of consequences.
yeah, I've learned to fear proper consequences rather than made up ones that have been popped into my mind. And that goes back to, again, asking questions. I'm constantly inquiring, are these my thoughts? Or have these thoughts been programmed into me somewhere along my life's path? So you can navigate it. Just speak to people, and find out why they're being upset. I ask them, is that something you thought about, or is that something that's been dropped in your head when you weren't paying attention? And we have quite an interesting discussion from that.
You find that people actually can distinguish between what's theirs and what's not.
If they're in the right, I mean, this is another interesting thing. You've got to be in the right place. You've got to be open. You've got to be inquiring. You've got to be thinking about stuff. Otherwise, probably not. But more and more people are starting to work out that actually things are dreadfully wrong, and that I mean, this is an interesting thing. The public servant, serve means that you're actually doing things to help someone, doesn't it? So you're the master is asking the servant what to do. So how is it a public servant can tell you and I what to do? Have they forgotten the meaning of the word? Should they be put back in their place, or should they be evicted from office because they're incapable of serving? Or is it because they're serving another master?
I guess it's the latter. They're serving
Exactly.
what we call government.
Well,
the
yeah,
people
there's higher
in
things way beyond government. They're the front thing to keep the things hidden in the background. Yeah,
definitely.
people are open if you ask questions, and I probe with questions all the time. And if people want to have a discussion, we can. And if they don't, I'll leave them alone. And you are right about consequences. The ability to, because everyone's so intelligent, but they've been dumbed down at school. They've been dumbed down with fluoride in the water. They've been dumbed down with stuff in the food. They're intelligent. All they have to do is start thinking for themselves and taking lines of inquiry and working with it. And all the intelligence, well, it'll come flooding back because they're connected to it all anyway. But people are frightened of thinking, I found, and they don't want to think about consequences because the consequences frighten them.
Yes.
But
I had
there's,
no.
there's a
Sorry,
fine,
go on.
sorry, there's a fine line, Maria, between getting frozen by fear. And that's one of the problems I think we have with the so-called truth movement, the alternative media right now, is that in many ways they're doing a lot of damage by bringing information to people's minds because it's terrifying people. And that there's a balance in there where you offering solutions, making people certainly aware. They need to be aware of what's going on so they can avoid the consequences of that. But I think if we spend too much time focused on the fear, we just become another part of the fear trauma-based mind control system.
Yeah.
Inadvertently, not meaning to be, because we want to share knowledge and information. That's one of the reasons why I changed the direction of my channel and the frequency of it a while back, so that we start talking more about solutions and ideas and what's going on. We still mix the other stuff in there, but there's more, you can do this. This person did this person was sick with this, and they tried to do that kind of thing. We need to be mindful of that, I think.
Yeah, definitely. From all the people that I have talked to so far.
By the way, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Everybody's, let's say, optimistic, but not, lightly optimistic. They're realistically optimistic.
Yeah.
They clearly see something. They sense something positive in all this. And of course, no one has a timeline. No one can say, how things will evolve and how soon things will happen. But they all have this understanding that when we say that people are waking up, they really mean it. They really see something meaningful, something meaningful. Do you see that? Because me, here in Greece, I don't really see something,
yeah,
substantial.
I think it depends on the day, really. And where I happen to be moving around and circulating that day. I'm optimistic. I think there's a lot of rough, unpleasant stuff still to come, but I think I've always been optimistic anyway. And what I find is that what you focus on, you get. So I don't want to create a reality I don't want to be involved in by focusing on a lot of unpleasant stuff. I'm aware of it, and I'm taking plans to say, all right, there's going to be food shortages. What can we do here? and we don't have enough. So there's going to be energy shortage. What can we do here? And we're not really anywhere near reliant, but I can keep going for a little while so we can figure something out. But yeah, I think overall there are so many more people now that I'm able to have a conversation with on all sorts of levels than I could say 20, 25 years ago when I started walking away from it all, when I realized it was a crock of nonsense. That, most people really thought I'd lost my mind, and I probably had. But now you can actually have conversations with people, and I've got people coming back to me now that, called me all sorts of names under the sun. I used to laugh with them and at them 2 years ago, and all of a sudden now they're like, actually, you're onto something. I said, no, I'm not. I'm just explained how I see it. But, my viewpoint's only where I stand looking around my life from the view of the hill I've climbed up on. And people need to climb up on their own hills and have a look around, and they'll get a feel for what's going on too. And I think there's a lot of people, Maria, that would love to talk more about it, but they're frightened to, lest anyone says anything or thinks badly of them, or they think they might get punished because they're still in this mindset that someone's going to come bashing through the door and lock them up.
I sense denial, and they outwardly say it. I don't want to think of these bad things.
Yeah. Well, you do know it's easier to con someone than to convince someone they've been conned.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people I think will find themselves in that position, and we could be, and we should be, I feel, there to support them and help them through that.
I had a conversation yesterday with my mother, and we were discussing about what we're saying now. And she told me, Maria, I can't handle it. I can't, you're telling me, where things are going, and I don't want to think about it. I can't stand it. And, it's fearful. It makes me, frightened. And I told her, you know what? We don't have to discuss, with fear. I don't have to inform you about, basic things that not that they are going to happen, that they have already happened. I mean, they have started, and I get you frightened. You can change that definition, and instead of saying, well, that makes me fearful, you can say to yourself, that makes me stronger, wiser, more, better informed. So now I can do something. Now I have, then the information to actually do something. So it's not based on fear. It's based off, I don't know what call it, knowledge, foresight.
Yeah.
So you can prepare. Preparation is not out of fear. It's out of,
well,
information.
There's a couple of things to consider, because I think you're right that we live in a realm that frequency and vibration are everything. And, we sense vibration through all of our senses. So eyesight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, they're all vibrational decoders. And if you've also got a flow of energy coming through you all the time, life energy, life force. And when you feel fear, or when you feel bad, any kind of negative emotion, you're cutting yourself off from that energy. That's what you're sensing, I think. So if you're looking at a subject and you're feeling bad about it, one of the things that I've learned how to do is to change my view of it, step inside it, behind it, above it, below it, keep moving around it, and ask myself, how can I view this in a way that actually supports me so I can do something with it? And you start to, which is what you were saying, look at it a different way. But I ask the questions to find out what works for me, because the approach quite often is never the same, but I have to keep moving around it till I find a way to look at it. And sometimes it's too big a jump to get from where I am to feeling good again. So I'll go off and do something else and focus on something that makes me feel great, like thinking about my daughters as an example, or being out in nature, or, going for a walk, meditating, whatever it is, so that from that place of feeling good on that subject, I can then start to look back at the other subjects. I'm in a much better place to start eliciting better answers, more useful information for myself.
So it's as if you're taking a little break, let's say.
Yeah. But it's like I said to someone the other day, if you're like you're sat and you're hiding behind your sofa watching a film that fucking terrifies you, and you go, I hate this, why don't you just change the channel or walk out the damn room? Put yourself in a better place, then come back and do something different.
Yeah. So how old are your daughters?
32 and 30.
And they're in a good place right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they live up in the Lake District, which is lovely. And one of them's been vaccine damaged since she was 3. And we're still working through that. She still has, constant pain basically, but it's more managed now than before.
Is it like an autoimmune thing? Neurological thing? What?
It's neurological more than anything, yeah. Yeah. And there's other physical issues that come as a result of that. And then she experimented with some surgery and that didn't work out so well. Because the cut, poison and burn brigade aren't very good at well, actually, no, I'm going to say they're not very good at what they do. They're extremely good at making suffering and causing death. That's basically what goes on. They're not very good at what they say they are, which is to do with health.
When you found out what's going on with vaccines, and I'm not talking about the injections now, I'm talking about, the childhood vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
When you found out what they really are and what they do, did you feel any guilt in the beginning as a parent that you were not informed when you had to be?
Yeah. Well, I had been informed, but I'd been ill-informed.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is funny because I put a video up about, how can you make informed consent when you've not been informed? And that video lasted about 3 days. I saw it. It didn't last long at all. It got taken down for medical misinformation.
I saw it when you put it up. Yeah,
it was funny, that one. Yeah. So you can't even read their information off their website and then do, a few other things with it. So, but yeah, I did go through that. But then, we're all in the same place. We've all been grossly misled for the sake of some profit. And what other agendas and issues they might be trying to serve up. But, you can't live there. You've got to say, okay, well, I've done that. So let's move on and let's see what we can do to put things right.
Yes. Yeah. I vaccinated my son when he was 3. At least I was, wise enough not to vaccinate him when he was 2 months old.
Yep.
I waited. But I did give him one vaccination. I think it was meningitis, I think. And afterwards, of course, I found out what's going on. Thank God, he hasn't developed any major, I don't know, anything. But even that one shot that I gave him, it made me feel so bad, like a failure as a parent, that I'm here to protect him and I poisoned him.
But that was what you were sold. You were sold you aren't protecting him unless you do this. That's the manipulation.
No, that's not an excuse for me because I was suspicious. I was suspicious. That's why I didn't vaccinate him, when he was 2 weeks old. I had a sensation. I had a feeling. I knew something was up. It's I think maybe that's even the game that they want you to go through, the feeling of failure as a parent, because even if you're not informed about vaccinations and you do have vaccine injured kids, you still feel guilty because you are the parent. You're supposed to protect that little creature, and now it's so sick, so you failed.
Yep.
Plus, you don't know why you failed. Yep. If you're not informed.
Yep, that's right.
It's a vicious circle that they put you through.
It is. Yeah, I've often wondered: is that their real energy source? That they need all this negative, sadness, fear, unpleasantness, and suffering? Is that somehow what they require, whatever they are? I don't know, because it seems
energetically.
To a lot of it.
You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's as if they're feeding on negativity. Eh?
Yes. Yeah. What was that? There was a film, wasn't there, about Monsters Inc.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more fear you cause, the more successful you are.
That's right. Until they had a kid laugh, and then that blew all the circuits, and they realized there was way more energy with that.
Yes.
So I thought that was an interesting message they gave in that movie.
Yeah. Do you know a Canadian girl? She's called April. I don't remember her first name. Elizabeth April. No. She's one of these people who claim that she's in touch with the Galactic Federation, and she has, she exits her body and she she goes to the spaceship and comes back, and she brings messages, important messages.
All right.
I used to follow her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But through that, I see it as nonsense now, but through that nonsense, she did say something that I think it's important. She said that they, whoever they are, they set us up with sexual trauma from a very, very young age.
Okay.
So it's like a collective psychic scar that
Mm-hmm.
we carry on,
mm-hmm.
From generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
That's probably a better question for my partner, who's a psychologist, because we were talking about multiple personalities and how if you severely traumatize a baby and continue to do that through its life, you can end up creating thousands of different personality slivers. And then you can control anybody with that, which is what I think we hear about when people refer to the cabal, and they refer to all the stuff that must be going on in the background, irrespective of whether, Q or whatever is going to be a savior and all that nonsense. But there is so much of that going on. And I think that, we touched on it with Ludwig again, where we're here to heal ourselves from trauma. And I think it's so important that we do that, because the outer world, our experience, whatever that is simply a reflection of what's going on internally in us, which is why I do so much internal work in me, because I know I'm contributing to what's going on right now and I want to change it. So to change it, you do a lot of work, whatever you can do to work through that, whatever processes work best for you, to heal yourself from that, to forgive that, and to forgive yourself. And I think that's hugely important. And when we get that back, and back to resonancy or resonation and frequency, that once you are on a different channel, you experience a different life. You have to. When I said you change the channel, if you change the channel, the horror movie you were watching still exists, but you're now involved in and immersed in a different frequency. So you're now having a different life experience. So I think it's hugely important we do that. And I believe that, as to whether it's been programmed collectively or it's something that we're going through, I don't know, because I don't fully understand how consciousness works, because we're all individuals, and yet at the same time, we're all part of a large collective.
Yeah. I'm gonna end this session. I'm gonna send you another link. I would like to discuss about the nature of reality. What's your understanding? We hear so many different things. Yeah. So I'm gonna send you another link. All right?
Okay. I might not be able to answer that question, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, we all do our best, hopefully.
See you in a sec. Thanks.
See you in a sec. Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, the nature of reality.
Yeah.
What's your journey? I can briefly tell you my journey. So.
Okay.
I started with David Icke.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very immersed into that new age. We're all one, and we are godlike, and we need to find, we are God ourselves. In a good way, not in an evil way.
Yeah.
And I didn't want people to teach my son to believe in, the Christian side of God. I wanted to talk about, the universe and the earth and the life force. I didn't want to use the word God. And I thought that was a positive thing. This message of, we are divine creatures, and we are godlike, and God is in nature and is everywhere around us. And I thought it was very positive. I don't anymore. I can't tell you that I have formulated a clear notion of what God is and who is He and what are we and what is our stance on this earth. But I don't believe that anymore. And I don't believe that anymore because I see what's happening. I see what's happening around us from all these people who believe that, and they're striving towards self-actualization in that sense, in the sense that I just described. What's your understanding?
It's not that different to your own. I think we have a massive impact on, well, I know we have a massive impact on what we actually experience in our reality based on what we focus on with emotion and feeling. And the realm, the hologram, whatever this is, responds to that experientially. And, you know, I know that when I had all those problems back in my life that I said I wouldn't really touch on, where, well, I'll give you a very quick, non-detailed summary. I knew things weren't right. My mother, I watched her be basically tortured over 10 years with brain cancer while they tried all sorts of experiments and then left her to die, which is what started my journey on health and trying to figure it out. I had a business where there was an inquiry, a fraud inquiry that went on for 2.5 years, and I was arrested like 17 times, and a whole bunch of other nonsense went on. And that's where I started to learn more about, you know, how to protect yourself from this system, and you're not actually part of it if you don't want to be. And then I had a breakdown as well. So all those things, they all coalesced over a 3-month period. Actually, it was really exciting, but I wouldn't change any of it because it helped me go inside myself. And there was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol to try and figure stuff out to stop myself from exploding even further, or imploding actually. But it gave me a much deeper feeling for things. So I know that because I was then preparing for the worst, and the worst kept happening. I thought, shit, this is so good that I've managed to prepare for that. What else could go wrong? I'd picture it in my head. I'd get so worked up about it, and then I'd prepare for it, and then the fucking thing had happened. So I worked out you can actually drive yourself into the ground like a big screw, and you can go a long way in. But then you can also
like
come
a
back out.
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. You know, so we talk about authority, and people say, well, they're an authority figure. No, they're not. You're the author of your life. It's your life story. So tell your story. Yeah, author it. And so when I work that out, then it does seem to respond to it. But there's a big time delay. You've frozen as well.
Did I?
Sorry, yeah, your screen froze, which was interesting. It's like you can it's like, okay, that shocked her.
Literally.
You know, so you're the authority of your own life and you should live it, but it does respond to you. But there seems to be a time delay. It doesn't respond instantly, which is probably not a bad thing, because there are certain things that have gone on in the world where you think I could kill them, and people will be dying all over the place, especially when you're driving around in your car and people are doing stupid things. But if you learn to work with that, I think you'll see more going on. But there's another side to this. If you look at what, I keep referring to them as they, and I don't like to, because it disassociates them. And, you know, there are problems there, which is why we're experiencing that. And there always seems to be this dialectic of it's either us or them, it's either this or that. And there's much more choices than that. So I'm losing my train of thought on that now. But they're very focused with their secret societies and their rituals on how to create reality. And they get us to create the reality for them, which is why they broadcast their spells on the television. And we're immersed in that all the time, all this fear of threat of nuclear this and all the rest of it, so that they can harness the direction we're going to take it. But we can do that ourselves anyway. So reality seems to respond to it. As to what God is, I sense a connection to something greater, but I just don't know what it is. I've got a good feeling for my relationship with it, and I can commune that way with that part of myself, because I think we are connected through that. But as to, you know, I can't put, it's like trying to describe something where you haven't got the words. It's very hard to do. But I'm aware of something, and I nurture that, and I respect that, and I revere it, because I think it's important. Because when I've turned my back on my relationship with that, things don't work as well, and they're not as smooth, because there's intuitions and there's knowledge and information coming that way. It's almost like there's a higher you connected through this experience you're having, feeding information to you. And as to what that's part of, I don't know.
Yeah. The big giveaway for me is that people are afraid to use the word God. They need to describe it with different words, whatever their understanding of God is. Yeah. They're refraining from using the word God. And if they do, by accident, very quickly they try to, you know, say something to correct it. And I also did that, and I caught myself doing that. This summer, for example, my second interview was with Steve Falconer. And with him, I used the word God, I think. And then immediately I said, or the universe, or whatever that is. I had to correct myself, as if saying God is very bad, and I shouldn't say that. and it, you know, it triggers people or whatever, or it triggers me.
But is that part of the programming?
Yeah, so that was the giveaway. I mean, why people are afraid to use the word God?
Yeah.
What is it with God that we should stay away?
Yeah. It's an interesting thought process. But yeah, it's for me, it's part of the programming. It's like all this woke stuff. You don't want to say this because people might think that, and it's trying to find what is the correct word. And I think one of the problems going back to linguistics is somehow we've been dropped into this realm to use language, and language is grossly inefficient at describing anything, particularly English, I think. You know, if you try and describe the color red or, you know, love, how do you express that in words? It's difficult because it's not really suitable for it. How do you express it, the feeling? You know, so I think one of the issues we have is we're trying to express concepts and the words don't fit properly. They don't work properly.
Yeah. Yes, that's a problem in communication.
Yeah.
In your own understanding, though.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we do think with words, so it's
we think more with images, I think, and sensations.
Yes. It's like
you know, if I said to the word house, you don't write house across the inside of your mind, do you? You picture a house.
Yes, that's correct. You're right. Yeah.
But as to why we don't want to use that word, I don't know. I shy away from it because it just doesn't feel like the right word. But that could be because I was brought up in a very Catholic household, and we had to go to church every Sunday, and there was Sunday school, and I resented the whole thing as to why this was being forced upon me and why I had to look to this external figure at the front of the church all the time for guidance, and I had to go and tell him when I'd been bad. And what's that about?
Yes. Maybe that's the programming. Maybe that's the programming that we associated God with the church.
Yeah, that inserted itself between you and your relationship with what you should be related to, not through them, but they can't control you if you don't have that relationship with them.
Exactly. Yes, exactly that. Yeah. And we know that, the first centuries AD, there was no official church. You didn't need the church. You didn't need a man-made organization to intervene between you and God. You had a direct relationship with him through Christ, for Christians. And now you have to go through the church edifice. And when I say God, it means that I subscribe to whatever the church men are teaching about God.
And that's where I have a problem.
Bullshit. Exactly.
But even when you said about we know that you look at history, his story, it's all been rewritten. Everything.
Yeah.
If you can find old books, which are really hard to find, the information is different in them. Everything's been changed. The history on the internet's being rewritten right now. Everything is.
Yes, they do.
So that there's, and I'm always asking myself, what's the reason for that? What's coming next?
I'm also curious what was happening back then that we can't find out because we don't have the source.
Well, you look at the stuff about like Tartaria and all the energy systems and how that whole society that was everywhere, and you see elements of it in the architecture even now.
Even that might be a psyop, they say. Have you watched Iwar Anon was his name? What on earth happens? So he recently came out and said, I realized that Tartaria is a psyop, that humans were able to build these buildings. We didn't need another civilization. We could do that on our own. And he found, he's showing now information and photos and books and stuff that here, these great cathedrals, we can build them. We could, and we still can. So even Tartaria, I don't know whether it's
Who knows? And this is the real key with all of this stuff. When we talked about asking questions, you've also got to keep a very open mind to things, to explore things, and to have meaningful discussions like this, where you're touching on subjects, where you're trying and you're searching for answers and information, and you're gathering other views so that you can say, well, is my view right? Because the more views you have of the territory, you have a more accurate map you can triangulate from that. And that's one of the things I'd encourage people to do, is get out and start fucking talking to people and have proper conversations again. And none of this nonsense where you read the headline and you dismiss it. Dig into it. Really dig into it.
Yeah.
And see where you
see
go.
what makes sense. See what makes sense for you.
Yeah. And don't forget that the view from here, sorry for over talking, the view right now in this moment could change, as you know, the guy you just mentioned, he's changing some stuff now. He's refining his view. In my book on health, I've had to rewrite whole sections of that in the last 2 years as I've got further into this and explored more. I've gone like immune system. There was so many references to immune system in the book, and I asked myself a question one day. Well, what's your immune system? And I couldn't answer it. And I thought, well, maybe there isn't one. Maybe there isn't. Maybe there's just a waste disposal and metabolic waste products and toxic delivery, disposal system to get stuff out of the way, and that's it. And then everything made sense at that point, and the whole system works. I had to rewrite big sections of the book on that, which is why I made the book a live book, so you constantly get updates when I change things.
Who said that the simplest explanation is most probably the true one?
That's right, Occam's razor.
Yeah, Occam's razor. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I also want to talk to you about flat Earth.
Okay.
Talk.
Talk. Right. I've read enough stuff and I've watched enough stuff to be 100% certain it's not what we've been taught it is. And why they start teaching you that from a very early age about the solar system, the dinosaurs, and all the rest of it, there must be a good reason for that. As to whether it's a flat plane like some people talk about, or we are part of something much, much bigger, I've got no idea. And I don't really know how to find out, but I'm convinced we're not on a spinning ball, going at several 100,000 miles an hour or whatever. And, the whole thing doesn't make any sense. But I don't know whether it's a flat plane or it's a much, much bigger plane, a huge one. I don't know. But it resonates well enough with me that I give it a lot of credence. But as I said, I've got no evidence to say, yeah, it's a flat disc. It might be something else.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
And how did if it did change your
Right. Okay. First of all,
your everything.
Well, it does change everything, because it a lot of lies are built around that. And I think there was a change for me right around the time that, the COVID-19 psyop came along, that everything that I'd been taught, I thought, I wonder if it's a lie. That's why I was taught it. And everything I've learned in my life has actually been quite true, because I've had to go and search for the information, which comes back to self-reliance, self-responsibility, and asking questions. So I then decided, you know what, it's probably worth taking everything on every subject I've ever looked at and chucking it out the window and starting again.
Yeah.
And then one day I was talking with someone about that, and we were having a laugh and a joke about it. And I said, yeah, but what if? What if there's something to it? So I started doing some digging, and then Flat Earth Dave, who you've had on your show, reached out to me, and we had a chat primarily about NASA and stuff, not a space agency. And I did more digging prior to that. And I thought, yeah, they're onto something. So that really was the point for me, was I decided to empty my head of everything I've been taught and to re-educate myself on all subjects, history, everything.
The problem with history that I find is that I can't trust any source anymore.
Yeah, it's a story, that's all.
So even the people who debunk, the mainstream history, even that, I don't know whether it's
yeah. Well, I tell you what I've found. Yeah. And what's a fact? A fact is only something agreed on by two or more people. According to the law, or the legal system, not the law. So I think what I found is useful is I inquire with questions, and you keep digging with questions, and you go as far as you can possibly go. And I have a book full of questions that I wait for answers on. And I have loads and loads of mind maps. And if people haven't looked at mind maps, it's one of the best ways for capturing information and thinking and doing all the rest of it. But if I'm looking at a subject, I pay a lot of attention to my feelings. I was taught as a kid at school, don't ask questions. So I kept asking them. and stopped daydreaming. So I kept daydreaming and stopped being so touchy-feely about things. So I did actually for a long time just live in my head, and that was a big mistake because that's the trap. So I give credence to stuff. If I feel something's right, if it resonates with me, I will give it more attention. So like the flat earth stuff, for example, or the history stuff, there's elements that do resonate with me, and there's elements I think, no, it's not for me. So I pay attention to not just what I'm thinking about, what I'm asking for, what I'm studying, but also how I'm feeling about the whole thing. So I'm trying to employ this entire outfit that I've been given to experience this life through. And so that to me works. So yeah, there's elements of history where I'm like, I'm not sure. The Tartarian stuff, yeah, you just don't know. But clearly that structural stuff was here, and something's gone on to change it. And something's gone on as to why we've been dumbed down and we've forgotten how to do that, and how we create really ugly architecture now compared to what we used to create.
Yes.
So there's all sorts going on. So but paying attention really to me, I trust my gut instinct with people. Yeah, like
I'll tell you why. Sorry.
I was going to say, so that's
thought.
one of the reasons we're talking, is because I trust my instincts about what I've seen of you. And I thought, yeah, I'll go for that interview. Whereas I turned 5 others down already this week.
Oh,
Because I don't have
you.
that. I don't sense that connection about where you're trying to go and what you're trying to do from the other people. I had that from you, and I thought, yeah, we'll have a nice chat with this. This will be cool.
I don't know. I feel I'm collecting information and see what resonates exactly.
Yeah, and you're a signpost as well. That's what I've tried to be. Is I keep telling people, for fuck's sake, don't think like me. Think your own way. Right, and become a signpost, so I can look at you and you can point things out that I can't see from where I'm stood. So the more of us that are signposting stuff and saying, take a look at this, what do you think of that? That I think is how we'll get through a lot faster with this. But yeah, pay attention to what resonates with you.
Yes, I want to say one last thing about Tartaria and why maybe it is a psyop, or sort of. So Iwar says that, see the connection between the globalists, the idea behind globalism, one government, one nation, one religion, and one civilization, one great civilization that did miracles,
Yeah. Well,
what if that's
what if the globalists are trying to recreate that, but they've twisted it and it's got all out of shape?
Yeah. maybe.
Don't know.
I don't know. I'm still digging.
Well, that's the key. Keep digging, keep asking questions, and that it will reveal itself eventually. It has to.
On very few things, I think I have formulated an opinion on viruses.
Okay.
On biology. On the flat Earth. I mean, I'm fairly certain that there are no viruses. The contagion doesn't happen the way they taught us that it's happening.
No, I actually don't think contagion happens at all.
Maybe the bioresonance thing maybe does happen because we do see in a household, even if it's environmental. I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of
we're
which,
all exposed.
That's a bioresonance device.
Oh, what is it? I don't.
It's a bioresonance device, so it's playing a frequency or different frequencies to do different things, because
I have this. The Q-link.
I mean, this one.
Where is it? Yes. Mine is white. Mine is white.
I lost my white one.
I still got it.
See that it's bioresonance frequency. People in the household get sick, but not at the same time. Sometimes they get sick, sometimes they don't. There's all sorts that go on that make you think it could be contagion, but the more I've looked at it, they've never been able to prove it.
No, never.
So if they can't prove it, something's going on.
So I'm fairly certain that this model is completely wrong. Yeah. I'm fairly certain that the Earth is not a globe.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but it's not a globe.
Yep.
Curiously enough, my son believes on flat Earth, and he asked his friend. They're 6 years old, and he asked him. I won't say the name of the kid. So. Do you think the Earth is a sphere, or do you think the Earth is flat? And the other little kid said, "Yeah, it's flat."
Yeah.
He looked around and he said, "Hey, it's flat." So if they didn't educate us that it's a globe, we would never think that it's a globe.
Right. Here's another interesting point. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's one of the things I'd written down, is that They spend all of their time trying to convince you that what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling isn't
Is
accurate.
wrong.
It's what they're telling you is accurate.
Yeah.
And people are
So
running
don't
around.
trust your senses.
Exactly. And they're all running around with these little devices in their hands, staring into them, and reality is being projected to them to experience.
How sad.
But it is sad, but it's also very exciting, because it's far better that we realize and know what's going on and we can bring an end to it, rather than getting sucked into the machines forever, which is where it looks like they want to take it. You're right. If you use your senses and look around, you'll realize what's going on.
Definitely, and not just with flat Earth, with almost everything.
Yep.
With almost everything, you have a sense.
Trust it.
Yeah. Well, we don't know how to trust it. I mean,
Well, pay
we've
attention
been
to the animals.
We've been disconnected.
Yeah.
From
Well,
day one.
Get your shoes and socks off and go walk on the earth. Go stand in the running water. Watch what the animals do. Pay attention to nature and how it operates, because you're part of that. And become, part of it again, and you'll start to find your way.
Yes. So simple, simple things. Life is so simple.
Yeah. Well, it's like health. There's only 4 ways you get sick. Address them and you don't get sick very often. And if you do, you're just getting rid of toxins anyway. You either have physical damage, you have toxicity, which could be toxic thinking, toxic relationships, the stuff in the air, the stuff in the water, plenty of stuff in the food, electromagnetic frequencies, electromagnetic radiation. You have nutritional deficiency, and you have stress, and that's it. Now, you deal with those things, and I mean, people say, well, you still get sick. Of course I do, because I'm exposed to all the shit around me.
Yes.
But I know what to do with it, and I support it. So like October last year, I normally have my seasonal detox event, which people call the flu. Normally goes on anywhere from a few hours to a day or two. I was ill for 17 days.
Wow.
It was bizarre. I was so weak in the end, I couldn't even walk.
It must have been COVID, Adrian.
Yeah, right. Excuse me. Fuck off. Not at you, but the whole idea
Only
of that.
Only COVID does that.
Absolutely.
It's long COVID.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it was long COVID, because I couldn't even walk up the stairs. Seriously, it took me half an hour to get up the stairs to go lie down, but I kept with it, kept fasting, I was on like 10,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C. And when I got to the end of it, the strange thing was, I was talking to my daughters and I said, I feel like I'm in a different body. My sense of smell's different. My sense of taste is different. My skin feels different. Everything feels different. It's like everything's been cleaned out, which is good. And then I had another one about, when was it now? It must have been late July. I got this spot that appeared on my arm that got bigger and bigger and bigger. Then another one on my wrist and all down my side. And it looked almost like chickenpox, but it wasn't. It wasn't shingles. I don't know what it was. And that went on for about 12, 14 days as well. Then
it was monkeypox, Adrian.
Was it? You mean I've had the whole lot?
Yes, you had all of it.
I had no idea. Well, that means I must be immune to everything now then.
No, because they change, so you can get them again. You're not informed. Here, come to me. I'll inform you.
Okay, Dr. Maria, thank you.
Yeah. So what do you think happened the last couple of years? Maybe not couple of years, maybe just 1 year after 21, 22.
What I think happened was we witnessed the biggest hypnosis and mind control event ever unleashed on people.
Why do we get sick? Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, why now? Why now 17 days to get rid of, why 17 days of detoxification? It must have been a different type of toxicity, something harder.
Well, no, it could have been, Maria, or it could have been that my body chose that point to get rid of some stuff, because when your body's trying to get rid of toxins all the time, but when you're taking too many toxins in for it to deal with, it has to store them somewhere in a place that will harm you the least. Like fat tissue, for instance.
Yes.
All right. Which is why, for example, women get breast cancer and stuff, because they store stuff in the fatty tissue.
Yes.
So you stored it somewhere in the bones, in the joints, wherever it is. And because I'm constantly trying to reduce the amount of toxins taken in and support the idea of expressing toxins all the time. So if you're at the point, and this is what I think went on, when my body goes, right, I can get rid of this junk now. So now it starts to get rid of it. Now, what a lot of people choose to do is they take suppressants, antibiotics, antihistamines, whatever, and they suppress that and push it back in the body, which is the worst thing I think you can do.
Yeah.
So what I did was
and then you get cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's interesting to look at with a view to voltage and pH as well. But the expression of the toxins could be a load of deep-seated stuff from years back. It could be anything. It's just that's the time it's going to come out. Like what happened with my skin back in the summer. It was the time for all this junk to come out. So I let it come out. I let it do its thing, and it was pretty gross, but it did its thing, and then it cleared up.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm here.
No, it's funny. I have my camera is right where your face is, so I can see your chin. But every once in a while, it looks like you're frozen. Like, is she frozen? So I have to look around to see you.
No, I'm a Greek statue, and I don't move.
How magnificent! Well done, you.
I wanted to ask you something very important, and now I forgot it.
Wow,
I
must have
hate
been
when that
important.
happens. It was. It was interesting, if not important.
It may be a question I couldn't answer.
No, I'm pretty sure you could answer it. Anyway, it will come to me probably, or not. We'll see.
Don't chase it, because if you chase it, you'll find
Yes,
it
I
has
remember, Adrian. I remember. Please go and
What now?
find not right now. After we hang up, go and find out a video I have uploaded early in the summer, in July, about vitamins. And please watch that.
Okay.
Because probably supplements is another fraud.
Yep.
Big fraud.
Yep.
And then I interviewed this guy. We did touch on vitamins again, because that was, that's why I reached out to him.
Yeah.
But then we discussed about other stuff also. So basically, he's saying that with all the research that he's done, the way vitamins are being produced, completely synthetic, have nothing to do with food, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
And they're just drugs.
Yeah. That's
They're
right.
just drugs that they label it differently. So when we say that, I took vitamin C, if you mean a supplement, it's not vitamin C.
But if I was eating a bag of Satsumas every day?
Yep, definitely. That's vitamin C. If it comes from food, then that's it. Yeah. Anyway.
No, it's a very important point. And I think there's another interesting thing to look at as well when we talked about vibration and frequency, is that it's not so much what you do, it's how you feel about what you're doing while you do it that has the most impact on your body. So I choose now not to drink alcohol. But if you were drinking it because you were really down in the dumps or angry as hell or whatever, that will be more damaging than if you do it because you're having a really great time. It's just to lift you a little bit further, and you're with great company, you're having a great conversation. So it's paying attention to how you're feeling about stuff all the time, I think, is massively important when you're doing it.
You also mean that we can transmutate something just because we
Well, I'm not sure about transmuting. I think it's about, but we probably do that, actually.
Like epigenetics.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you think about like a plant. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday about this, that a seed will have certain constituents in it, and the seed will grow into something. And if you grow it in a medium with no nutrients in it, it will get a different level of nutrients in the main plant compared to what was in the seed. So it's transmuted something into something else. And maybe that's how we operate. I don't know. But what I was really talking about was, if you pay attention to the events that are going on around you and what you're doing during those events and how you're feeling about those events, that will have a big impact on your physical body and your emotional body as well. So, like with all the stuff that we're seeing right now, if you see this as a great opportunity, it will have a different impact on you than if you go through it absolutely terrified that it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
That's really the point I wanted to make with that.
Yeah. No, I agree. We have 8 minutes. Do you have something written down there on your tree that it's important and we should mention it?
We've actually gone through. I think we've gone through most of it. I think if people just reconnect with themselves and reconnect with each other and get around family and friends and foster and build and nurture those relationships, and as importantly, or more importantly, probably nurture a relationship with themselves, and start to believe in yourself once again, believe in your intelligence, believe in your ability to do stuff and find your way through anything, because you've made it this far. And if you've come this far, you can make it the whole way. And just to stop paying attention to all the nonsense and find ways to disconnect yourself from it. If you can grow a mouthful of food this week or this year, that's one less mouthful you're relying on this redundant, poisonous, dreadful slave system that's becoming apparent. And also, don't think it's suddenly got really bad. It has got worse, but a lot of it's been there forever anyway. It's just being exposed as we shine more light on it.
Yes, that's an important issue.
And find people that can support you, that you trust, that will defend your territory, that will help you. I spend a lot of time working with people around here, and I've got relationships now with some really great people that we've all got our own crossover skills and unique skills so that we can stand by and help each other. And we do. So if things get really unpleasant, we've got possibilities and things we can do to help each other so that we're all right, because you can guarantee that these ignorant, stupid souls that are making decisions that people are following, they've not got your best interests at heart. They're serving another paymaster. Well, why are you listening to them? If they walk into your place of business, why are you serving them? Ostracize them, get rid of them. You don't have to follow them. You don't have to pay any attention to them. They're nothing anyway. Become the author, the authority in your own life. Tell your own story. Enjoy your life, experience life. Those are the kind of things I say to people a lot lately, that believe in yourself because you're here and you're fine. Just crack on.
Yes, and maybe we should also reevaluate what's important
constantly
about life, because if you want to disconnect from if you want to author your own life, but if you still want to write a book according to what external powers tell you that life is all about, what I mean is, you can't disconnect if you still want to enjoy the things that they have persuade you that are enjoyable. So if you still want to go to the movies, if you still want to go, shopping, if you still want to go to nice restaurants, and that's your idea of having a nice life, but then you don't want to follow their orders, then maybe that's not possible. Maybe you need to reevaluate what's important.
But let's do a couple of things with that, and we might need to put another few minutes onto this one, because that's a very interesting topic as well.
Yes.
That just because you can't go into their system to play in their game, what stops you and I setting up a private members restaurant so that you operate in the private and it's not in the public? So we can create, and this is what should happen. Stop trying to fix, not that you were, a broken system. You don't have to engage with it. Simply create a better system that works and supports you. And if people want to go that route and they want to explore all that transhumanism stuff, that's absolutely fine. You go right ahead and fill your boots. But that doesn't give you the right to drag me into your world, just as I wouldn't expect you to be dragged by me into my crazy world of nature and all the rest of it. That's my world. So we can do our own thing, but we should be creating our own systems and our own processes so that we can go out and do that if we want to. We can do all that in the private, which is how I moved out. I just operate in the private. It's nothing to do with public.
Yes. And that needs, you need to put some thought on it. You need put some energy. You need to believe in that.
Yeah.
And some action also.
Well, and this is one of the things, that I don't have issue with the secret and the law of attraction, all the rest of it. It's very relevant, but it's also relevant that you just don't daydream this stuff. You actually take action, because reality responds to the actions you take. So once you've decided on a direction, get out and do stuff. Do stuff. If you do it like it all depends on you, and act and think and pray like it all depends, on the reality itself responding, things happen.
Yes. Very important.
So if you think you're going to starve, go, plant a potato or something. Go do something.
I've planted sweet potatoes. I'm waiting for them to grow.
I don't think they grow very well here. I want to build some geodesic domes as greenhouses.
Yeah.
Which would be really good. Just from a construction exercise, it'd be interesting as well. It's different to building an engine, so I want to have a go at it.
Will you ever come and visit Greece for holiday or something, if you can?
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow if you want. Yeah, I'd like to. I think it would be good to do a little bit of traveling before they finally, if they carry on with their game, we won't be able to travel anymore anyway. But yeah, I'd like to do that. And if I do, I'll come and say hi.
Yes, definitely. I can walk you around.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. I like walking. I do lots of walking.
I meant it literally. I walk you around.
No, I'm serious. I do plenty of walking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Me too.
That's what I got legs for.
Okay. Adrian, lovely to speak to you.
Likewise. Thank you for reaching out. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Please tell us, apart from your site for the love of truth, anywhere else we can find you?
Well, if you go on fortheloveoftruth.co.uk, and then at the top there's a link to Alternative Principles for Health, which is my site about health and where you can find my book if people are interested in it. But yeah, that's really it. I don't really do social media. You won't find me many other places. I would rather be face to face with someone. Even this feels weird because, are we really talking, or is it just being filtered through the matrix anyway? I don't know. But it's cool. It's cool. So yeah, those are the places you can find me if you want to reach out to me. There's a contact page, and I do get a fair number of emails, but I don't go on. I try and get a lot of time away from the machines and connect with real life as much as I can. Yeah. Which is why I think last week I had 4 phone calls last week on my phone, and that was it for the week. It was great.
Amazing.
Well, I do leave it on silent a lot of time, and I quite often forget it. I think, oh, where's my phone? Oh, it's back in the house, and I've been out for 2 days or something. But yeah,
that happens to me too these days. I can never find my phone.
Yeah,
where's my phone?
No, it's good because we don't need that connection.
Okay, less than 1 minute.
Yeah,
I don't want an abrupt ending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really, I mean it. You're a lovely soul.
Likewise.
Human being. And
I'm a human being. I'm not a human because you is a color, and I'm a man. I'm not a color of man, and a being I'd rather be doing. So I'm a man doing.
Yes, you're a man doing. Yes. I'll reach out again, and when I'm back to England, maybe I'll come and visit if you fancy.
I would love that. Yeah, you do that. It would be nice to show around here. It's beautiful where I live.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, Wells. Anyway, lots of kisses. Have a great day.
And you.
And oh well.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.